everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Season 4 of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Richie. Richie, what's going on?
It's almost draft day, and it's been a fun off season so far. So I'm excited.
I think our last episode was the 8th of March, so it's been about a month and a couple weeks.
Yeah, we did a free agency preview, but we never did a free agency recap, and that just led us right into the draft.
Yep, we're here. I did a little bit of free agent recap, just the top 10. Some more trades, some more releases, but figured we'd focus straight on the draft today. But yeah,
we can talk about the
crazy stuff,
the bigger stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm. But of course, as always, when we do this show, we always start with a top 5. So I decided to start with a top 5 draft pick wins that you thought would be losses.
This is a tough one
because mine are all going to be from 2020 on, but I was going to make that a stipulation that'd be 2020 and on, but then I'm like, a lot of ours would probably be the same, so I just took that off afterwards. That's why mine are all 2020 on.
Yeah, you took the ones that immediately came to my mind, so I had to dig a little bit. See, the problem is, as a fan of the Washington football team, we don't have draft wins in the last 10 years. Like every loss turned into a loss, so I had to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, true. I had a few. I could have gone with a few more Lions ones than I did, but yeah, I went with the biggest one for me.
Yeah. You want to start us off?
Sure, I'll start us off. I totally forgot until I was looking the stuff up that Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick. But mine is second-round pick, Jalen Hurts from the Eagles in 2020. Not only did he dropped to the second round and was picked by the Eagles, who at the time, had Foles and
Carson Wentz.
So I was like, okay, yeah, that's a terrible pick. Turns out, I don't know that I believe he's the best player ever, but he did just win a Super Bowl and win Super Bowl MVP. So I'd say that he's definitely a W and not a loss. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the same way when they drafted him. It was like, whoa, that's awfully high to take a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. But I guess they knew Carson Wentz had fallen off a cliff. So kudos to Philly.
And that he freaking did. Crazily.
Yeah. He came to Washington and then he disappeared entirely.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Washington, my number 5, I went with RG3. I'll be honest, I was not really excited when they drafted him. Obviously Andrew Luck went number 1, and I was hoping the Colts would take RG3 so we could get Luck, but Commanders traded a lot to get him, and I was kind of on the fence. Not a fan of the mobile quarterback per se, and boy, he proved me wrong. Had a great rookie year. Wheels fell off with injuries, not his fault, but I was not on board that train. Yeah,
misplayed. You can only at this point imagine what he might have been.
Yeah, and personality-wise, he's become a big fan of the team, big supporter of the team, and it's a shame. It kind of worked out because I wasn't so invested when he got hurt and fell off. It wasn't as soul crushing as it would have been.
No.
So yeah, but yeah, I was not a fan. I'll be honest.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, my number 4 is a guy we talked about a lot last year, throughout the year. Not last year, 2 years ago now, after in his rookie season. But that's C.J. Stroud, who was taken number 2. I did not believe he was a number 2 quarterback when they drafted him. I can't remember. He was from Ohio State. That's another part to it.
Yeah.
So an Ohio State quarterback goes number 2. I'm just like, okay, well, good thing the Texans had 2 picks in a row. because at least maybe one of the two will be right. And I didn't think it would be C.J. Stroud. Now, granted, it took a step back last year compared to the year before, but they still made the playoffs 2 years in a row, and he's still a good quarterback. So, a lot better off than they could be with a number 2 quarterback, or even a top 10 quarterback, because so many of them don't even work out at all, right? Where's Josh Rosen?
Yeah, I mean, and then the number 1 quarterback taken that year, the kid at Bryce Young, Carolina. It's like that was a rough quarterback year, going 1-2, and I didn't have faith in either one of them. And now C.J. Stroud is exactly why I'm not over the moon about Jaden Daniels this season, because I've already seen a quarterback have a good rookie year and then come crashing back down to earth. So I'm more like, see what happens. But exactly. Yeah, especially Ohio State quarterbacks never pan out. So
yeah, exactly.
My number 2, Christian Kirk with the Cardinals. This one took a little bit for me to remember, but when they drafted him, he had gotten in some law trouble beforehand, and they took him in the 2nd round. And I just remember thinking, really? This guy? Had a good career with the Cardinals, then did better with Jacksonville, and now he's kind of forgettable. Traded to Houston for a 7th, but I definitely was, when he got drafted, I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, yeah, this kid ain't. They took him because he's a hometown kid. He's not going to do crap.
And at the time, all they had were short wide receivers, and he was a short wide receiver as well. So it's like, are they ever going to draft someone that's tall to play with their 400 slot receivers they have?
No, because that was Kingsbury's. Just wanted a bunch of guys running around the middle of the field.
Like, we're going to run slot receivers in every slot.
Air raid, everybody just quick and fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I would call it a win. He kind of peaked his first year in Jacksonville, but he did well, better than I thought.
Yeah, I'd say he turned out pretty well. So.
Yeah.
My number 3 is now the highest paid tight end in NFL history.
Yes.
And that is Trey McBride from the Cardinals. They did not need a tight end when they drafted him because they had Zach Ertz. When they drafted him, it made no freaking sense. I thought it was the dumbest pick in a long line of dumb Cardinal picks, especially Steve Keim picks. But turns out Trey McBride is an actual beast and not a wasted pick. Zach Ertz has gone on to the Commanders. McBride last year being the number 1 receiver, 2 years ago went crazy. And then in a full year as the number 1 tight end, went even crazier and earned himself the biggest tight end contract in history. So, yeah, Trey McBride definitely thought he was an L, but he turned out to be one of the better tight ends drafted in recent memory. So, kind of crazy.
Yeah, I remember when they took him, it was kind of like, oh, backup tight end, cool. And then I remember seeing him his rookie year in person and watching him play and just thinking, oh no, this guy's a beast. Like he gave off beast mode. And yeah, now look at where he is. So
just
good on you, Trey.
Dude, covered in tats, like just intimidating as hell.
And only caught 1 touchdown last year.
That's an odd thing considering how many catches he had. Maybe that's
my
where
number 3
needs to work.
Yeah, well, Cardinals just need to score more points. Yeah, my number 3, going back to the Commanders, I remember because I was at this draft in Chicago when they took him. They took Brandon Scherf, who was a tackle in college, and everybody was like, oh, they're going to move him. He's got to move inside a guard. He can't play tackle. His arm's too short, blah, blah, whatever. They're going to move him inside a guard. And I'm thinking to myself, we just took a guard, like 6th overall, he was a pretty high pick. And moving
Not
positions.
Only did you take a guard, but you took a tackle to convert and hope he converts to a guard.
You're taking a guy that you're going to move his position from what he played in college. And I just thought, like, what a stupid ass decision. But then he turned into one of the best guards in football for a while, and then left us in free agency. No surprise there. I think he's in Miami now, or Jackson. I think he's in Jacksonville. Still good. Still one of the top guards in the league. But yeah, that was. I just remember thinking, like, what you're gonna take a guy and then move his position immediately. Like, that is a stupid stupid thing. So that when they did it with Sam Cosmi years later, because it worked with Scherf, when they did it with Sam Cosmi, I was like, okay, maybe it'll work again. And it has. So I guess that's just what you do. You take tackles and move them to guard.
It doesn't work the other way for some reason.
No, it does not.
But that one seems to work. Nice. My number 2 is Brock Bowers, and not for any reasons of his skill level, but just because the year before the Raiders took a very high tight end that year as well with Michael Meyer? Is that his name?
I think so. That sounds familiar.
It's Meyer. I think Meyer is the last name. But the Raiders had a high drafted tight end, and the next year they're like, let's take this first round tight end, a second year in a row. As if the Raiders didn't need anything else to make the Raiders better. They're like, let's just use our pick on a tight end.
Yeah, that was the thing
team that did not upgrade their quarterback. They needed one. They didn't do that. They just didn't do anything that made sense. So taking a tight end when they seemingly had one seemed like a massive L for the Raiders. Turns out, he immediately then went on to break the record that Sam Laporta broke the year before for tight end yards. Then on top of that, also broke the rookie reception record, I believe. So he broke multiple rookie records as a tight end. And so that is actually turning out to be a massive good pick for the Raiders. They actually have a premier tight end now. Meanwhile, Meyer has done nothing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Michael Meyer drafted in the second round, 35th overall in 2023. His rookie year, he had 27 catches for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. In 2024, he had 21 catches for 156 yards. So, he has done nothing. But yeah, I was the same way. When they took him, they took Bowers like 10th overall. And I just thought, boy, there are a lot of holes on the Raiders. I would not have picked tight end as their most.
And tight end was not one of them.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they got one of the top 3 tight ends in football now. Yep. So
crazy.
My number 2, Laramie Tunsil, ironically the Commanders' new left tackle. Another draft I remember being at and getting a phone on my alert and seeing him smoking a gas mask bong. Yes. And just thinking, oh, there goes his career. But no, he got drafted by the Dolphins and turned into one of the best left tackles in football. So yeah, that was I still remember watching that video on my phone with my dad.
But eventually it worked. It still worked out.
He made it up when he signed with the Texans, and yeah, he's getting paid now. But yeah, just crazy to look back on that, and just thinking like, oh, this poor kid. I mean, and he got hacked. Well, it's still him in the video.
Yeah.
So
it's not an AI wasn't back then. That was actually him.
Yeah. So yeah, good on him for bouncing back.
Yeah, that was a good one. My number 1 is from my team, and it is Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, 2023. I remember they made this pick. I didn't even know his name. I'd never even heard the name before the draft. And I remember screaming at the television, who the fuck is that guy? I was pissed. I thought it was the stupidest pick in the world. And now here we are with Jahmyr Gibbs constantly going crazy. Really good runs. Just one of the better running backs in the NFL. Just a great pick, despite the fact that they had just signed David Montgomery. And despite the fact that Jamal Williams had just rushed for 17 touchdowns. It was crazy. But yeah.
I just remember when they traded DeAndre Swift and then drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. And there were people online that were like, you just took a DeAndre Swift clone. What was the point of that? And now it's like, no, DeAndre Swift is nothing like Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift clone would mean that he has one good game every 8 or 9. Jahmyr Gibbs has a good game every game. If
And
Swift could get his shit together, maybe he would be a Jahmyr Gibbs clone. But
yeah. No, ended up being a great pick. Well, my number one is Lamar Jackson. I remember draft night watching his interview and his mom and just laughing and thinking this kid is not gonna pan out. Like I didn't think he had the personality, and maybe he still rubs some people the wrong way, but dude performs and he produces, and yeah, I mean that's can't win the playoffs, but not his fault. Mark Andrews needs to catch 2-point conversions, but yeah. I remember when they traded up for him, I was just like, whatever. But yeah.
And I think he was like, I remember seeing the same
quarterback taken in that draft.
And then I remember the Lions having an opportunity or being linked to him in trade talks when he was not being extended by the Ravens, and I'm like, please get him. Please trade for him. Please give us Lamar Jackson.
Well, that was the year the Cardinals took Josh Rosen, I believe. So it's like, yeah, would have rather had Lamar Jackson.
Probably could have had a much better quarterback there, an MVP caliber, instead of an out-of-the-league caliber.
Yeah, instead of Aaron Rodgers light.
Exactly. Well, I don't have any news, but speaking of what you just said, I guess that could be news. Aaron Rodgers has not signed with anyone. I'm very sad about it.
He would love to know that more people are talking about him because that's all he actually cares about is the media attention.
Well, the greatest part is that he just tries to shit on Aaron Glenn because he's not in the news right now.
Yeah. I guarantee Thursday he signs so that instead of the draft, everyone's talking about him.
Probably. Well, it just cracked me up, that story, because they're like, Aaron Glenn, his story himself was like, Aaron Glenn asked me if I was ready to play football, and I said I'm interested. I said, no wonder he told you they're not interested. What do you mean you're interested? Yes, I'm ready to play football. Any other answer than wish-washy, I'm interested. Like, of course they're not interested in you. You just screwed them for 3 years. The only reason Aaron Glenn has a job there is because you drove Robert Saleh out. Like, yeah, of course they're not interested in you. I don't think it's an Aaron Glenn issue. No. Then the other part is like him talking about, I flew out there on my own dime. I'm like, do free agents fly out places on company dimes? Is it really?
For visits? Well, and not only that, but it came out later.
You're a millionaire. No one feels bad for you.
He was already in New York. Like, he didn't fly out there to meet with them. He said, I'm going to be in the area. And they're like, oh, come on in. So he's just a liar. Like, he's just a narcissistic liar. And I don't care if he signs with Pittsburgh. I'm surprised Mike Tomlin would put up with him.
Please retire. I'm waiting for the day you say you retire.
Just go on the McAfee show, which I don't watch anyways.
He's going to do what Larry Fitzgerald did and just never say he retires. So you're just always wondering.
Absolutely not. Rodgers will want all of the attention when he retires. He will do a LeBron ESPN special where he sits down and says, I'm retiring. Like, he is an attention whore.
South Beach.
Yeah. I'm taking my talents to the Pat McAfee show. Yeah, but no, fuck Rodgers. I'm so sick of that guy. I honestly, I know he's going to sign with Pittsburgh because they're out of options. But, like, how is Mike Tomlin going to handle that? Like, I respect Mike Tomlin. I just can't imagine him wanting to work with Aaron Rodgers. That is shocking. But
I think they'd rather draft a rookie.
I just don't know if they're going to get a chance. All right, well, let's dive on into the free agency updates. So big name players released. Cooper Kupp was a big release that I think we talked about when we did our preview because that was kind of the writing on the wall. Oh, we did not.
Because these are the ones that I added that weren't in the last notes.
Oh, okay.
So these happened after our show.
Okay. I thought that was one that was like rumored to happen. So he was
rumored to be traded. But he was straight up released.
Yeah, because nobody wanted to pay his contract. Signed with the Seahawks. Von Miller
Mm-hmm.
aging up. He got released. Still a free agent.
Hasn't signed with anyone. That's a good one. That's a good training camp signing when it comes up. Because I think that's kind of what happened with the Bills as well.
Well, Khalil Mack, I believe, is still free agent too. So, like, there's some older pass rushers that people could sign for just third down work.
Mack just signed with the Chargers.
Oh, he went back to the Chargers? Okay. Harold Landry from the Titans got released, signed with the Patriots, and then Sam Hubbard, the Bengals edge rusher, got released and is still a free agent. And Trey Hendrickson's still there too, even though there's been a lot of talk about him getting traded.
Well, I mean, if they trade him, then they got no defense. Drop Sam Hubbard.
And not only that, have you seen the rumors about the Steelers trading TJ Watt all of a sudden?
No.
Yeah, to get a quarterback. I've seen rumors of them trading up to try to get a quarterback, so like trading TJ Watt. It's crazy.
Weird.
Yeah. But speaking of players that did get traded, DK Metcalf was traded from the Seahawks to the Steelers for a second-round pick, which gives them two good receivers and no one to throw to them.
Unfortunately, two good receivers that are both very loud and outspoken. So everyone is really starting to wonder, are these two going to be able to play with each other?
Oh, and throw Aaron Rodgers into that mix? Oh,
that would make it even better.
That's a hard knocks waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason traded from the 49ers to the Vikings, backup running back.
Yeah, they always have 400 running backs, but Mason played really well with the other 399 injured last season. So
yeah. I think Isaac Guerrero now becomes like the de facto number 2 whenever Christian McCaffrey inevitably gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe Milton, everybody's favorite backup quarterback after Week 18, got traded from the Patriots to the Cowboys, which actually makes sense because the Cowboys kind of need to start planning for the future quarterback.
If you are a Joe Milton fan, don't get excited. Because they continued to play Cooper Rush even when they had Trey Lance.
That just tells you a lot about Trey Lance, doesn't it?
So unless Joe Milton is there with Cooper Rush being gone, you're probably never going to see Joe Milton either.
Yeah. And then the top projected free agents, run down the list of the top 10. So
this
DJ
was the
Reed.
top 10 free agents that we talked about.
Yeah, and then where they went. So
mm-hmm.
DJ Reed, corner, signed with the Lions. Good get for them.
Hell yeah. But it's
Chris
funny
Godwin,
because the guy we lost, what's his face? The guy we got from the Buccaneers the year before. Anyways, lost him, got DJ Reed, the best cornerback free agent. The team that got our old guy paid more than we did for DJ Reed. So,
that's funny. Yeah.
Massive upgrade with less money. Yeah. It's crazy.
That worked out. Chris Godwin actually re-signed with Tampa Bay. I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Now they still got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Funny,
Sam Darnold.
Multiple two wide receiver combos that are really good stayed together, which I'm happy to see. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Love those two together. And then Godwin and Mike Evans staying together. Love those two together. So.
Yeah, good for Baker. Continued success for Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold signed with the not the Vikings. He signed with the Seahawks after they traded Geno Smith to the Raiders, which I don't know if we talked about that. I don't know if that had happened yet.
Yeah, that one happened.
Okay.
So we didn't know who the Seahawks were going to get, and here they are. They got Sam Darnold to play with Cooper Kupp. A whole new
Jackson
Seahawks
Smith
team.
and Jigba.
Yeah.
Josh Sweat signed with the Cardinals. Good for the Cardinals to make a big move.
Yeah, massive signing for the Cardinals, who would barely have a defensive line the last few years.
I couldn't name a single other player on that defense besides Buddha.
Yeah, Gardeck. Roy Lopez.
Oh, yeah, he's still there. Milton Williams, defensive tackle from Philly, signed with the Patriots after teasing signing with Carolina. That was hilarious.
Patriots,
you remember that?
Did he do that? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was like on the first day of like free agency, the Monday, it was like reported that he had agreed with Carolina, and then like an hour later, it's like, oh nope, he's actually switching to the Patriots. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, poor Carolina.
Well, the Patriots got Milton Williams and Harold Landry for sure. Those two I can think of right now. So their defensive line is going to look a lot better.
Yeah, they had the most money, so I'm glad they were spending it.
Mm-hmm.
Khalil Mack, you mentioned, re-signed with the Chargers. Travarius Ward signed with the Colts. Javon Holland signed with the Giants. Joey Bosa went to the Bills to
That one
replace
made me
Von
mad.
Miller. You wanted him on the Lions?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And then Trayvon Morig, safety, went to the Panthers. So that is your top 10 free agents. I think.
And while I was looking at losses that turned to W's for draft picks, I didn't realize that Morig was drafted in 2022, I think, in the second round. So he hasn't been in the league that long to be switching teams and considered a top free agent.
Yeah. Yeah. He got his rookie deal and then left. I think the other signings are Justin Fields signing with the Jets, Russell Wilson signing with the Giants. Those are two big moves that I don't think we hadn't happened yet, so we had talked about them.
I actually like the Jets again.
I am cautiously very optimistic for like Garrett Wilson because they played together in college. So,
Well, I don't know
yeah.
that they're going to be good, but I can enjoy watching them again like I did before Aaron Rodgers was there.
Yeah, well, yeah, just Aaron Rodgers being gone makes the Jets watchable.
But I've always liked Justin Fields, just didn't like that he was a Bear. So now that he's on the Jets, Aaron Glenn is the coach, like, I can like the Jets again because they got all one of our old coaches who I want to see do well. Justin Fields I want to see do well. So I'm pretty excited to see the Jets now.
It'll be fun. I think that's all that I can remember from free agency that was like big. Well, and
Over the cap.
Daniel Jones signing with the Colts is interesting because they've said that they're going to have an open competition for quarterback. They're not Anthony Richardson is not the de facto starter. So that'll be interesting to watch because if Anthony Richardson loses that job to Daniel Jones, he's going to go down as one of the biggest busts in draft history.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Devontae Adams went to the Rams.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So the Rams, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
I think they ended up paying Devontae Adams like damn near as much as they paid Cooper Kupp too. Like,
yeah, it's crazy because he's making $22 million.
Yeah, that is just. Who do people think Devontae Adams is in 2025? Like,
right, and then
nuts.
Cooper Kupp is only making $15 million with the Seahawks, and he's a year younger. Like,
crazy. That was a crazy one.
Let's see. What else do we got?
Najee Harris signed with the Chargers. I really like that for Najee Harris.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting for him for sure.
Yeah, and then my boy Javonte Williams signed with the Cowboys to be their new number one running back. So
yeah, finally the Cowboys have a.
I'm going to ride Javonte Williams into the ground. I've been doing mock drafts and I take him as like my fourth running back because the hell with it.
Yeah.
I draft him every year.
Well, I'm looking at players that have not been signed. All right, so these are the top paid recently players that are still unsigned. We've got Keenan Allen, still free agent. Amari Cooper, still a free agent. Von Miller, still a free agent. Deontay Johnson, who was on like 4 teams last year.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett. Preston Smith, the edge rusher from the Steelers, who's I actually thought is pretty good. I don't know why no one's picked him up. Zadarius Smith, who was on the Lions last year. Matt Judon is an interesting one that's not signed yet.
That is
like
interesting.
But then you got Sam Hubbard, Brandon Scherf.
Wait, Brandon Scherf's a free agent? That was the guard I was just talking
still
about.
Yeah.
Huh.
Still not signed. Yeah, interesting. I'm looking
I
at
was
the
just
quarterbacks
looking.
too.
I was looking at running backs, and Miles Sanders is on the Cowboys now. I did not realize that.
Yeah, I remember they signed a couple of running backs, the Cowboys.
Well, because Rico Dowdle went to Carolina, and then Miles Sanders went to Dallas. It basically just switch teams.
Nice, of course.
Who's the running back the Panthers paid last year? Didn't they extend a running back last year for a bunch of money? Chuba Hubbard. That's who it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, and because then they also have Jonathan Brooks, and they signed Rico Dowdle. So just a lot of running backs there. But
crazy. Huh.
all right,
Cool.
well, let us dive on into the draft.
Oh man, let's go.
All right, so you broke down a nice little preview here. So number of picks between teams. The 49ers and Ravens both have 11. That's the most. You've got Bills, Browns, Cowboys, Jags, Chargers, Dolphins, Seahawks with 10. Panthers, Raiders, Patriots with 9. Packers, Chiefs, Saints, Giants, Jets, Eagles, Titans with 8. Bears, Broncos, Lions, Colts, Rams with 7. One in each round, probably. Cardinals, Bengals, Texans, Steelers, Bucks with 6. Falcons, Commanders with 5. And then the Vikings only have 4. That is not
Isn't
very
that
many.
crazy? Like you
Yeah.
got so many teams with 10 picks or 11 picks, and then you've got the Falcons, Commanders, and Vikings with under 5. That's
Yeah.
rough.
Well, the Commanders
Oh.
traded most of their picks for Deebo Samuel and Larry Tunsil. So
True.
and Marshawn Lattimore too. Our draft is just those 3 veterans basically. I don't know why the Vikings don't have any picks. I guess they gave them all up to get JJ McCarthy. I don't know.
I know they traded a bunch, at least 3 first rounders last year, I think.
Okay.
Or 2.
In the first round, every team has 1 first round pick this year, and there's also been no first round trades. And this
All
is the
of those
closest.
first round picks are their own picks as well.
Yeah,
It's the first
this
time
is
that's
the
happened in
closest.
like 2008 was the last time, I think.
Yeah, this is the nearest to the draft that there have been no first round trades since like the 80s. Like it's
crazy. When I was looking at how many first round picks people had, and I realized that everybody had one. I was like, I don't remember that happening for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, for how many years did the Rams not have a first round pick just because of Stafford? Like, Rams fans must be real happy now. They can actually enjoy the first round.
Well, and I think there's gonna be a lot of trades in the draft as players start to fall down the board. You're gonna see a lot of movement, I think.
Oh, once
This
we
is a
get
weird
to those
draft.
Razzes, man, there might not be a lot of quarterbacks this year. There are a lot of players that I like in this draft. It's crazy.
In the top 100, the Bills and Seahawks both have 5 picks. There are 9 teams with 4, 14 teams with 3, and then the Falcons, Lions, Rams, Vikings, Steelers, Titans, and Commanders only have 2 picks in the top 100.
Yeah, I kept 3 and 4 just seems like a normal amount, so I didn't put the team names there because there's so freaking many of them. But having 5, because I remember everyone was excited for the Cardinals last year because they had 6 top 100 picks, which was kind of crazy. Now the Bills, who are really good, have 5, and the Seahawks, who need them, also have 5. That's good for those 2 teams for sure. Unfortunately for our Commanders and Lions, 2 picks in the top 100.
Yeah, it's not a very eventful draft for the Commanders. I think we'll end up trading down from 29, but if we don't, then it's like, all right, we're going to end up with 4 players out of this draft probably, which that's fine.
Right. At some point, you're probably going to move up to get somebody you want, at the very least.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they could trade to move up is the thing. I think if anything, they move down. But
I'd say if let's say in their 4th round, they want to move from the end of it to the beginning of it.
They could
then
trade
they trade their
something from
7th
next year.
Yes.
Yeah, or picks from next year, but
Mm-hmm.
and then mock drafts. So Cam Ward basically locked in, quarterback from Miami going to the Titans, replacing Manny's boy Will Levis. Travis Hunter Colorado, going to the Browns at 2. And then Abdul Carter from Penn State going to the Giants at 3. I think that's locked in, but there's still a possibility the Giants take a quarterback. So
that it's so crazy because I went to this website that kind of consolidated all of the drafts, and then it had like each one of them showed the top 3 from each of the drafts that it listed, and it had freaking 70, 80 of them on there. And I kept scrolling down, and almost everyone had this top 3 as the top 3 picks.
yeah,
Crazy. Some of them had the Browns taking Shedeur Sanders, and I thought, okay, well, that's just made up. But, for the most part, this is the top 3 that most people think will happen. So it'll be interesting to see, especially since the Browns and Giants are now talking about trading out of those 2 spots. So we'll see if a trade actually happens here in the next couple days.
Yeah, I think that's the top 3 that goes down. I know that if Abdul Carter falls to the Patriots, like a lot of teams have mentioned trading up to 4 to get him if he falls. I don't think teams love Shedeur Sanders as much as he loves himself. So I don't think he goes 2nd or 3rd. I don't know. He might. I don't even know if he's the number 2 quarterback taken. I think Jackson Dart might get taken ahead of him at this point. It's
off-topic question for you. How ridiculous do you think it is that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter had their numbers retired by the Colorado Buffaloes?
I think it shows that Colorado apparently has no football history.
Yeah, that's got to be it, because Shedeur Sanders' record is at what has been absolutely terrible there. Travis Hunter, I guess he was. Did he win the Heisman, or was he just?
No, I think he won.
Right? Yeah, so a Heisman winner, okay, maybe. But geez, man, 2 seasons, 2 not good seasons, really, and you're retiring their numbers. It's just so weird to me.
It's also probably because Dion was like, hey, retire these guys' numbers. Okay, so Cordell Stewart went to Colorado. Excuse me. And that's the biggest name that I see.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Sure. Retire their numbers, whatever. First round quarterbacks, you mentioned Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart's on the fence. Like, in that consensus mock draft website, it was like 30% of drafts had him going in the first round. So we'll see what happens. But not a lot of drafts had J.J. McCarthy going in the first round last year, at least as far as mocks, and he was, 10th? So
yeah,
once the draft starts and people think they might miss out on a quarterback, they start panicking. So I think Jackson Dart will definitely go in the first round.
I think so. I think...
I don't think any other quarterback has a hope of going in the first round than these 3, but I think he'll go in the first round.
The only one I could see maybe sneaking into the end of the first round would be Jalen Milroe, just because there's some hype around him. But I think, you figure the Saints might take a quarterback with the Derek Carr news. You got the Steelers, who obviously need one. The Giants need one technically. The Rams have talked about drafting one. So it's like, yeah, those 3 will definitely go in the first round.
Yeah. We're gonna see, that's for sure.
All right, well, let's dive on into our RAS scores. Do you want me to just do all of mine and then you do all of yours, or do you want to go position by position?
Let's go position.
All right. I'll start us off. I picked this guy not based off his RAS score because he didn't participate in any drill, so he doesn't really have one. But Riley Leonard, the quarterback from Notre Dame, I've heard people say that he's the most underrated quarterback in this class. I don't know. There's so many quarterbacks that ended up going in the middle rounds that then end up being quality starters that I'm curious to see where he ends up if he ends up somewhere where he can get a chance. So that one, it's kind of my cheat because he doesn't have a RAS score, but I'm still watching where he goes.
Don't worry, I also picked a player in my picks that doesn't have a RAS score. So.
Okay, good.
It's not my quarterback, though. My quarterback does have a RAS score, and that's Brady Cook, who is projected to go 7th round or undrafted. So not particularly high on people's lists, but Brady Cook had a 9.71 RAS score. He's 6'2", so he's got the height. And then if you just look at his college stats, for 3 straight years, he had really, really good stats. It was never one of those 1 year flash in the pan and then he was injured a year, or his last year was good and the others weren't. No, he had 3 straight years of over 2,500 yards and a good touchdown to interception ratio. Now, people don't seem to be very high on him, obviously. Projected 7th or undrafted free agent, but I'm interested to see where he winds up going. If he becomes an undrafted free agent, it would be nice. I mean, if Cardinals or the Lions want to sign him to be compete for 3rd string, I would totally be in for that. But I'll be keeping an eye on his name for sure.
Nice. Yeah, that's there's a lot of quarterbacks like that they're productive in college and they're really athletic, but for some reason the NFL scouts are like, you're garbage.
Yeah. Now that Montana State quarterback, Tommy Mellett, he had 1 good year, but that 1 good year was crazy at Montana State. So that's another one I'm interested in. I think his RAS score was relatively high too.
9.28. Yeah, so pretty good.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Quinn Ewers
so running backs
must not have done anything at the draft.
A lot of quarterbacks don't do the cone and shuttle and 40 and stuff because they're if they're not athletic, they're not. My slow ass isn't going to go out there and run a 5.4 40. So
I'm looking at the list of quarterbacks on the RAS site, and there's a guy who got a 4.88 whose name is Average QB.
Wow.
Don't know who that is.
What college did he go to?
It says he went to college. College.
Go college.
Go college.
All right, running backs. So I'm going with my 2, DJ Giddens from Kansas State. RAS score 9.78. Not good shuttle or 3 cone, but his 4.43, great vertical, great broad, good height. So more of a breakaway guy, which, I look at these the way I look at, what I want the Commanders to draft, which is a speedster. So yeah, he is a pretty speedy guy, had a good career. And then he is projected, I believe, a 3rd rounder, which is, Commanders aren't going to draft a quarterback in rounds 1 or 2. So we'll be looking for a mid-round guy. And then Bashal Tootin from Virginia Tech, who's rated as a 4th rounder, 9.56. I like this guy because he's 5'9", so he's short. And he's stocky, but boy, is he quick. Yeah,
is that like a Darren Sproles situation?
He's 206 pounds, so he's a Darren Sproles-esque because he's 4.3 40. Great vertical, great broad. 24 bench press reps though, which is a score of 9.18 for running backs. So he's also strong. Yeah. So he's small, but he's fast.
Shithouse.
Yes, like the muscle hamster. So plus he went to Virginia Tech, which is close to the Commanders, and they had him in for a visit because he's kind of a hometown kid. So I'm like, all right, that could be one they draft. He's projected a 4th. We have a 4th. And then maybe somebody that, because Brian Robinson, I love Brian Robinson, but he has no breakaway speed. So we need somebody with breakaway speed.
Makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. That's a good one, actually. I like that. I went with one that I'm just really interested to see where it goes. His RAS score was not great. But a lot of his bad scores were in his height, because he's 5'9". He didn't have a great bench, which is kind of crazy because he is a very stout, strong dude, and that's Cam Scadaboo from Arizona State. who had great vertical, broad jump. Like, he's got moves. He didn't have a great 40-yard dash, but I wouldn't consider Cam Scadaboo a speedster, though he is pretty fast on the breakaway. But his what he does well is break tackles to get to a breakaway, and then he's just got to kind of run with the defensive back and try to keep him off him to get as many yards as he can. I think Cam Scadaboo will be a good running back in the NFL. And a 7.45 is a yellow score, so it's not red, but it's not green. So it'll be interesting to see where Cam goes. But he's projected to be a 4th-round pick as well, kind of like your Tootin guy. So it'll be interesting to see where those two go in the 4th round.
The Cardinals absolutely should draft Scadaboo. I mean, for what he means to the area, and like, yeah, they drafted Trey Benson last year, but James Conner's getting a little older. Like, get somebody like Scadaboo, who I guarantee you, and this is just, you know, bias because, you know, watching him and loving him. I guarantee you he's that running back that everyone's like, oh, he can't outrun people in the NFL, and then he gets on the field and he outruns people. And he runs
where
over
that 40-yard
dash
does not matter at all.
Yeah, like he's going to be good in the NFL because that kid just has heart. So I would love to see the Cardinals draft him.
Oh, for sure. My second running back is from a place where it's... I like to pick players out of Iowa, obviously, because Laporta was Iowa. You know, it's just one of those places where you're either going to run really well or you're going to play action pass off the run to a tight end, which is why several Iowa tight ends in the last few years have gotten drafted highly and done well. So my running back, I picked Caleb Johnson, who doesn't have a RAS score, but he's 6'1", 224 pounds. He's got perfect NFL size. Apparently 4.57 40-yard dash is enough to still be yellow and not great as a standard combine score now. I mean, I would have thought 4.57 in the past would be right there at the border of green at the least. So, I mean, Caleb Johnson was a is it Bolitnikov's the kicking award? Doak Walker. He was a Doak Walker finalist last year between Ashton Genty, him, and God, I can't remember the other one. There was a third one. But anyways, Caleb Johnson.
Was it not Cam? It wasn't Scadaboo?
No, it was Hampton. Amari and Hampton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so between Caleb Johnson, Genty, and Amari and Hampton, those were your 3 Doak Walker finalists last year. Both Amari and Hampton and Genty are predicted to go in the 1st round. Caleb Johnson is predicted to go in the 2nd or the 3rd round. But he was held up with those 2 players last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Caleb Johnson.
He would have been one of my running backs because I'm very interested in Caleb Johnson. People say he's like Derrick Henry, you know, and you look at the size, he's very Derrick Henry size. I would love to see the Commanders get him in the 2nd. I don't know if he'll be there in the mid-2nd round. But yeah, Caleb Johnson is one of the ones where I'm like, if we're going to take a running back early, take Caleb Johnson.
Yeah. Last year, 1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I
would like that very much. My receivers, I went both for just high RAS scores and late round guys, because I just you know, want to see them, you know, where the athletic ones end up. So my first one, Landon Parker from Troy, 9.97 RAS. The only thing he was yellow in was the shuttle, 4.40, 19 bench reps, which is great for a wide receiver. 38.5 vertical, he's 6'2", 211. So athletically, the dude's super gifted. I think he has the highest RAS score as a wide receiver this year. But he's projected as like a 7th rounder. So, you know, he might get drafted late, might get undrafted. But yeah, just curious to see where he winds up going.
How tall is he?
6'2", so not super tall.
good enough for me. If he's over 6
Yeah.
foot, I like it. So if you still haven't got a receiver towards late in the draft, that would be awesome to grab.
Well, and the Commanders, we need bodies, so I would be perfectly fine with them drafting him in the 7th or signing him as an undrafted free agent. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then my second one, also just a high RAS score guy, 9.9, Isaiah Nayor from Nebraska. He's 6'4", a little bit taller, 218, 4.40 for being 6'4". Not great side to side. His shuttle and his cone were yellow. Didn't do the bench, which I'm disappointed in. But good vertical, good broad. So another super athletic guy. He's projected actually to go undrafted. So, I love tall receivers. So
Which is
that's what I'll
crazy
be
because I can't
watching.
find. I'm on the NFL draft page on ESPN looking at the individual positions ranks, and Nair shows up as 27th, but I could not find Landon Parker on the list at all. And you're saying Parker's projected
Yeah,
higher than
Parker was
him.
listed. Yeah, I went off ESPN's draft projection.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, so those are two guys that I'll be watching on day 3 to see where they go.
makes sense to me. I got a couple that I find very interesting. I like this Torrey Horton. He's got a 9.83 score. I remember Colorado State last year being very pass happy. And I remember this guy, Torrey Horton, being one of their big receivers for that time. Not to mention he was a Nevada receiver, also a very pass happy team before he went to Colorado. But yeah, he also had multiple. He got injured in 2024, only had 353 yards, but the 2 years before that, 96 catches, 1,100 yards, 71 catches, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns each of those seasons. So, track record of being a top wide receiver at a top flight passing school. And he's 6'3", which, I love tall receivers. So, I like Torrey Horton. He's listed. He's also got that high RAS score, so he's listed as a 4th rounder. So another one of those 4th round options. If your team is looking for offense in the 4th round, I'm interested to see what happens with this dude. And then the other one doesn't have a great RAS score. It's a 6.0, but he was one of the 3 going for the wide receiver record or award last year, and his stats last year, I thought he should have won best receiver. I don't think he did, just because he went to San Jose State and because Travis Hunter was somehow in there, and they weren't going to not give it to him. But yeah, that's Nick Nash, 6'3", 200 pounds, big dude. 100 receptions last year, 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns. Just a really good receiver. Terrible combine scores, but that doesn't always mean terrible NFL receiver. I just liked him in college, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. He's listed as a 5th rounder, so another one of those late round receivers that are good options. So I'm hoping if the Lions need a receiver right in the middle of the draft, that one of these two are the ones they take.
Nice. Yeah, I had not heard of Nick Nash, but yeah, I know Tony Thornton. I remember seeing highlights of him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw another one on there because I got curious, so I started looking just at who are the tallest receivers in the draft, and one of them is Dante Thornton from Tennessee.
6'7",
He's
right?
6'5",
No,
6'5",
6'5",
as
okay.
listed as, yeah. But he ran a 4.340. Like that size and that speed, that's awesome.
Crazy. Yeah.
He's ranked as the 27th wide receiver. I don't have a projected round for him. But 175 overall would be 6th, late 5th, early 6th, somewhere around there. So
Yeah.
could be another guy that they could, somebody to watch at least, somebody to see where they end up. But yeah, 9.85 RAS too. So good, good size, good speed for him.
Kind of crazy.
My tight end is somebody that I had no idea who he was, and I picked him solely based off the college he went to, and that is Carter Runyon from Towson. I don't even know what that school is, but his RAS score was 9.38, second highest tight end. I just I just chose him because that college. Yeah, he's 6'5", 243. Ran a 4.6, which was great for tight ends. Like, he's not super heavy. He looks more like a receiving tight end than a blocking tight end. But yeah, I picked him because of the college. I'm not gonna lie. In fact, now I want to look up where is Townsend. Oh, it's in Townsend, Maryland. Hey, maybe the Commanders took another hometown kid.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I picked a guy out of Oregon because of his consistency. Again, I like consistent college performance. The age doesn't really bother me that if they went 4 years in college. He was a senior. Terrence Ferguson from Oregon. First thing I did was look for someone from Iowa, but there were no Iowa tight ends this year, so
that's crazy.
I did not pick an Iowa tight end, but Terrence Ferguson's from Oregon, 9.57 RAS score, which is very good for a tight end. He's kind of big, 247, so he kind of needs to lose a little weight, but yeah. 500 yards, 400 yards, 300 yards, over 35 receptions a year. Just a good catching tight end and big enough to be a blocking tight end. So I don't know that he would be like a Trey McBride, what's his face? Sam Laporta type receiving one, but he could be a very good Pat Fryermouth type where they block and catch.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's the name I got. And it's funny because most of those teams that have a Trey McBride or Sam Laporta, they also have the other guy who can have 400 yards receiving, but is also great at blocking and is always in to block when the other guy can't block. So,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, it always seems to be like you run a 2 tight end set, and your number 2 tight end is just a blocking tight end. So,
and
then moving on to defense. So my first player on defense is a gimme. It's Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Perfect 10 RAS score. He's a first round pass rusher. I put him on here because I've seen mock drafts where he actually falls to the Commanders at 29, and I would go ballistic if that actually happened. I don't think there's any way he falls that far. But that dude is just physically ridiculous. 6'5", 267.
I didn't think he was rated that highly, simply because I looked at his stats and I'm like, this guy really didn't do a lot in college.
He didn't. But physically, he is a beast, and everyone, they're like, hey, we can turn him into the next, like, TJ.
I can't remember the name of the guy, but the Lions did that, and I didn't like it. And eventually, after 3 years on his rookie deal, we traded him to the Seahawks. I can't remember his name, but we drafted him solely based on what he could be, not what he did in college, and that just never worked out, which is why I'm weary of a guy like him. God, who was the guy? Cliff Averill? Yeah.
Oh, I remember that name.
Yeah. So we drafted Cliff Averill. Same deal. I don't know.
I mean, there's no guarantee. I look at it and think he's better than what we currently have at pass rusher, which is a bunch of, like, no ones. So,
well, let me see if I can find Cliff Averill's
RAS score.
And
then after him, I picked again two later defensive guys. Connor O'Toole from Utah. Defensive end, he's an undrafted free agent, but he had a 9.5 RAS score. Vertical, broad, 40 shuttle, cone, all green, all great. A little undersized. He's 6'3", 248, so he's not, the biggest, but he's fast. He's more of a finesse pass rusher instead of a power pass rusher. If you're familiar with Madden terms, but as a projected undrafted free agent, that's somebody that I would love to see them bring in or draft in the 7th, and just see, because it's like Shamar Stewart light. It's like, if you can't get Shamar Stewart, who's physically gifted, get with this other guy who's also physically gifted, and maybe you can turn him into a pass rusher. And then my next one is another Virginia Tech kid, just because the Commanders do love to take kids from Virginia Tech. And I love his name, Antoine Powell Ryland, which reminds me a lot of Antoine Randall L. So I like the name. 9.18 RAS, great speed, great vertical and broad. Again, a little undersized, 6'3", 258. So again, more of a finesse pass rusher. But yeah, I went with a lot of late round guys, mostly because that's where the Commanders are going to do most of their picking is in the later rounds.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think most of mine picks are just people I want to see if they'll do well. Like, if I can pick them out as good college players that will also be good NFL players, because I don't think my Lions are going to get. They might get one of the receivers that I've picked. I doubt they'll get one of the running backs. They might take Brady Cook in the end of the draft. I'm not sure, but I just like these players. I want to see how well they do. This Landon Jackson is my first defensive player. 6'7" edge rusher with a 9.88 RAS score. I watched some highlights of this guy. He's absolutely insane. Before I even realized that he was a projected second rounder, his highlights are crazy, and his stats from college are also crazy. Like, he was just good all around. Yeah, 6.5 sacks, 3 sacks in his 3 seasons. 40-something tackles a season. Like, the dude was going crazy. Just a very good rusher. 6'7" is crazy to me too, by the way.
Yeah, it's like Calais Campbell, just like super tall.
Yeah, but he's projected second round, so we'll see if he edges into the first or if people are trading up to get him in that second round, because those ends are always valued highly. And then my second one's a linebacker, which is crazy because Carson Schlesinger, the UCLA linebacker, I thought about putting him on here, but then I saw this guy, Danny Stutzman, linebacker out of Oklahoma, 9.61 RAS score. Not great weight and bench or vertical jump. Okay, great. He's a linebacker. He doesn't really have to jump that much. But Danny Stutzman was a absolute freaking stud in college. Like, this is the part that put him on here for me with this high-ass RAS score. 100-plus tackles a season at Oklahoma. This isn't a Division II school. This is Oklahoma. Over 100 tackles every season. Had some sacks, had some interceptions, just insane, always at the ball. I think this Danny Stutzman linebacker is going to be good. Projected as a third rounder too. So I mean, like, there's some good value there for this dude for a late pick. Like, it's kind of crazy. And then I went with a cornerback for my last one, which is this Keaton Crawford out of Nevada. 9.72 RAS score. He's 5'10", which I hate for a corner, but almost literally everything else for him was good. And then you throw on top of that the fact that he... let's see, where is this dude? think he's actually listed as a safety. Trying to find it. Yeah, there he is. He's listed as a safety on the ESPN draft, but Raz has him as a cornerback. Dude last year had 2 interceptions, 76 tackles, forced fumbles, forced recoveries. Like, dude was all over the place. Not to mention, I believe he is a returner as well. So, Keaton Crawford looks like really good value for a projected 4th to 5th round cornerback. And it's funny because looking at the RAS score of anyone at 9.0 on the cornerback, I went through and I looked at the stats of all these guys in college. Not a lot of great stats as far as tackles for a lot of those cornerbacks or interceptions. Now, a lot of good pass defenders. But this was the one guy that had one really good year. After playing 4 years at Texas, he had a really good year at Nevada. So maybe that says something about it. I don't know. But I also don't think he started at Texas, which is probably why he went to Nevada. So it'll be interesting to see how this guy does.
Yeah. Nice.
I like it. And then I have one more else just because I looked at him because of his 10.0 RAS score. I didn't realize where he was ranked, but just looking at this strong safety and his stats, this dude is insane. And when I saw that he was listed as a first rounder, I was not surprised. And then Nick Imanwari of the South Carolina Gamecocks, strong safety prospect, number 1 safety prospect, listed as a first rounder. 88 tackles 2024, 71 tackles 2023, 85 tackles 2022. 4 interceptions, 2 interceptions. 2022, his first year playing college, he didn't have any. But those numbers are crazy for a comparatively to all the other cornerbacks, free safeties, and strong safeties I looked at stats for, especially with having a 10.0 RAS score. This guy is going to be a beast in the NFL.
Yeah, that's another one that I wish could fall to the Commanders, but he absolutely will not. Early on, I had seen mock drafts with them taking him, but now that dude is like, he's moving up too far. Yeah. He is going to be a beast.
He'll definitely be gone in the first round.
Yeah.
It'll be crazy. So.
My bonus one was a linebacker out of Pittsburgh, had a 9.98 RAS score, Brandon George. Dude was green everywhere except the 40. 6'3", 246, 28 bench, 42.5 vert, which was a perfect 10. Also projected to go undrafted. So just a super athletic linebacker that, I'm curious to see where he goes. And then I have 2 more bonus players that I was looking at that I wanted to talk about because they're hometown boys. One of them is Xavier Gullery, wide receiver from ASU, 9.26 RAS. Not too bad. Nice. Elite on vert and broad. 4.56 40, which was right in the middle. 6'2", which this has yellow. I'm like 6'2". Like that's perfect height. And then Ja'Cory Croskett Merritt, Arizona running back, 8.29. He was elite in speed and vert and broad. It has him listed as 5'10", which this gives him yellow again, 5'10". 206 weight, so he's a fast guy. He's a lighter side guy. But hey, they're hometown boys, so I figured let's give them a shout out. And then I had a question for you that I just realized. I did not know this, and this is on me. How tall is Ashton Genty?
That I don't know.
He is 5'9".
5'9". Wow.
He is 5'9". I did not know that. I thought that kid was like a 6 foot easy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, obviously super productive, so like not knocking anything on him, but like we were talking about that other running back earlier who was 5'9", and we called him Darren Sproles, and it's like, well, Ashton Genty. Yeah, maybe 5'9" ain't that bad actually. So yeah, that just blew my mind when I saw that. So I just wanted to talk about it.
So how tall is Hampton? Amari Hampton's 6 foot. Okay.
Yeah, Martin Hampton 6 foot. Caleb Johnson, they have listed as 6 foot. Trevion Henderson 5'10", Dylan Sampson 5'11", Quishon Judkins 6 foot, Scadaboo's 5'11". Those are all the top running backs. Scadaboo's actually on this site listed as the 7th best running back. So, nice. That's a round 3 maybe 4, but yeah.
Crazy. And also interesting, we never mentioned Trevor Etienne. Isn't that what's his brother?
Yeah, Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
This is a loaded running back class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
this I like when they talk about this class, like the experts, they say this is a loaded running back class, which is good for the Commanders and the Cardinals, and I mean the Lions are pretty set, but yeah.
No, it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be a fun draft. There are a lot of players I like. It was fun making this list for the podcast simply because now I know a lot more players than I did before I would have on Tuesday had we not done the podcast. So I'm gonna see names go off the board where I'm like, okay, I remember that name. That guy's good. So
it's an interesting draft for me because typically the Commanders are picking in the top 10, so I'm like super excited about specific players.
Mm-hmm.
But this year picking so late, it's just like I don't know what we're gonna end up with, so I'll see what happens. It's weird. I'm used to
I hope whoever it is, the Lions, who are right before your team, pick him. That way we can beat you at something this year.
And it's funny if Shamar Stewart or the safety, those are like dream scenarios. If they were both there when the Lions pick, or one of them was, I would have no issue with the Lions. Like it's one of those where it's like, damn, it'd be cool if the Commanders got him, but if he ends up on one of our teams, either one of them, that'd be amazing. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
sweet.
That will do it for the draft podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the video or audio podcast wherever you saw it. If you are listening to this, you can find it on YouTube, youtube.com/@Coffin Corner. And if you are watching this video, you can go to anywhere podcasts are found, search Coffin Corner Podcast, and look for the pylon logo, and you will find it. You can, as always, during the draft, you can probably find me at Den Defenders on Twitter or Richie at Hail Hogs on Twitter. That is probably where we'll be talking about the draft on Thursday night throughout the weekend. Yep. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for where we are and what's going on. So we will be back once training camp begins, getting ready for the season. So
yeah, we probably won't do a draft recap. So our first episode will probably be early August. I think we usually do it like the week after the Hall of Fame, or maybe the week before the Hall of Fame game. So
yeah, and that always has the draft recap in there because we talk about what free agents they got and lost and their draft picks and all that stuff. So
yeah, we can talk about where all these players we just talked about end up.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Well, I've got a playoff hockey game to get to, so I am done here. Richie, you got anything else you got to say?
Go Wild. Is that guys out there?
That's it.
Is that them?
Go Wild.
There you
Let's
go. Go Wild.
The only Minnesota team I like. All right, everybody. We will catch you after the summer. Hope you have a great summer and you enjoy the draft. I hope your teams do well in the draft, unless they try to take the player I want. Anyways, catch you guys later. Have a great time. See you later.